It's Marsha, and I've got Rona back with me because we're women, and this is Women's History Month. So we started thinking about, who are some women through history that have made history? And so you had a really good one. Tell them about your idea.
So I really admire Corrie ten Boom. She would house Jews in her home during World War II until they were arrested and put into a concentration camp. When she was in a concentration camp, her sister died. And so she took that opportunity to go around the world talking about forgiveness and God's love. And one of the stories that she would talk about is about the tapestry. And so she said, when we look at a tapestry and we see the back of a tapestry, a lot of times we'll just see knots and we'll see loose threads and we'll see things going all kinds of different directions. And so that's what life looks like to us. How does this make sense, Lord? It's so confusing. But then when the Lord looks at the tapestry, he looks at the other side. When he's looking at us, he sees a beautiful picture. And so I just love that analogy about how we may not understand all the twists and turns in our life, but as long as we trust God, he's going to lead and guide and direct us. And we can trust that he's going to put those threads together in a way that makes a beautiful piece of artwork in our lives.
I love that. And so then we started brainstorming. Each one of us has to come up with an idea of something that happened in life that was a Goliath that brought forth our David. You know, we think all things, life should always be a bowl of cherries and just wonderful. And I know I used to just almost get a little bitter when something bad happened. Think, why did that have to happen? And now I go back and go, I'm so glad that happened because you just never know what it's going to look like on the other side of the tapestry. So for me, that was after taking Naturally Slim. My mother handed me the notebook, the manual. It said, I'm retiring. I'm traveling with Daddy. It's yours. So from taking it to a manual to taking it to where we worked with Fortune 500 and 100 companies, and it was all delivered on the internet, and we'd helped 1 million people. And at that point, my business partner said, I think we need to sell part of the company. And literally feeling like he stuck a knife in my heart. How could he want to do this? But I know he understands the business climate better than I do. So I'm going to say, yes, let's sell a big chunk of it. And then later, looking back as I can now, that was in 2019. I go, ooh, in 2020, COVID hit. And I would have had to manage employees and companies and clients remote. And that just doesn't sound fun. And then teaching people how to lose weight eating all foods because I taught them to eat how people that have never had a weight problem eat. Every now and then, I remember one celebrity came out with his diet and I went, I know this is going to disrupt, the weight loss world for a year or two. Sure enough, it disrupted everything. And now we have GLP-1s. And I think they're fabulous, but everything's disruptive. It's like you've taken the whole world of weight loss and done this, and it's got to kind of all settle out. Like where I think it's going to settle out is the people that want to get off the drug or microdose the drug. They need the skills that I taught because now they're trying to just eat like thin people and not put the weight back on. But in 2019, if you had told me what a change it was going to bring to my life and how I could now observe instead of being right in the middle of all that. I've been able to observe it. And, I've always kind of heard the message in my head, I'm a good observer, figuring out where the chess pieces are on the table. Now I feel so much more capable of knowing how we're going to manage the GLP-1s and how people are going to do well. But when Den said, let's sell the business, I thought, that's like my child and that is sacred and I can't believe you're doing it. And so that tapestry on the backside looked like a bunch of strings everywhere and a lot of knots because that's what my brain felt like.
And I think that's really interesting to even further that story. The story I'm going to tell is a situation that happened in 2019.
The same year. And just as crucial to you.
Right. And you look forward, and if that hadn't happened to me in 2019 and that hadn't happened to you in 2019, would we be here today
Y'all
celebrating
would miss out this. Bless
Women's
your heart.
Month? No. So, a lot of times it looks different than we think it's going to look. And, to that point, I think a lot of times we have certain outcomes in our mind that we anticipate. When that outcome doesn't happen, that creates a knot. And then the thread starts going a different way. And then we expect another outcome. And that doesn't happen. So that creates another knot. So the thread goes a different way. And only until we're on this side of the situation can we really see that it's really beautiful, that really God did really work it together for good. And that's what I love about the way that God works in our lives is we just trust him. We just trust him. We put one foot in front of the other and we just trust him.
Mm-hmm. So it just makes for just a happier life. Just go with the flow.
Yeah.
And say
And
yes to what is.
who knows where we're going to be 5 years from now? Because we do know that there's going to be little knots along the way, that we're going to see threads going different directions, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated than we think that it's going to be. But we can trust that by the time we turn that tapestry over and see our lives played out, it's going to be beautiful.
So I want to give one more thing I just thought about, because I was just telling John, my husband, this the other day. And I mean, I've told him 100 times, but I was reiterating it. I say God turns up the heat sometimes to get you away from one place and into another. So I was a labor and delivery nurse, and you really shouldn't have more than 2 patients because these are women in labor.
Mm-hmm.
And once one starts pushing, you have to give your other patient away because you're there the whole time. And suddenly it got so busy, I'd have a woman on a stretcher in the hallway waiting, and I was like, this is not good. It's not good for my license. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go back and become a nurse practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I left, they built a whole brand new labor and delivery unit, state of the art, tons of nurses. Everybody usually only had one patient. They could sit and look at the monitor and, converse with each other. You weren't like running like this with your hair on fire. And I went, God turned up the heat in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to give people little acronyms and things like that. So when you feel like the heat's turned up in the kitchen, it's something you just go, no. Just say, God, I'm giving this to you. This is yours. I give you X, this is yours. And let go. Let go and let God and just see what happens.
Because it's always good.
It's always good because your tapestry looks like hell on the backside, but it's going to be a beautiful picture on the other side. So, Rona, thanks so much for being here today. This was great to talk about and think about.
It's always fun to be with you, Marsha. It's a great time.
So thank y'all for joining us today. And do not forget, hit that subscribe button. We'll be around for lots more fun.